There is a power in silence that many fail to understand. In a world that rewards noise, attention, and constant chatter, the quiet ones often get overlooked, underestimated, or misunderstood. But I want to tell you today, silence is not weakness. Silence is not passivity. Silence is a weapon, a mighty tool in the hands of the wise. It is the calm before the storm, the stillness that hides a force waiting to be unleashed. When you think about power, what comes to mind? Loud voices, bold gestures, flashy displays. Those things might catch the eye for a moment, but true power is something deeper. True power is grounded, steady, and often silent. The person who speaks less often is the one who listens more, who weighs every word carefully, who does not give away their thoughts too easily. That person is dangerous because they do not waste energy on meaningless noise. They conserve their strength, you see. Many people think that speaking a lot means you have a lot to say, but that's not always true. Sometimes people speak a lot because they want to mask fear or insecurity. They want to fill the silence because silence scares them. But silence, when embraced, is the sign of someone who knows their worth and does not need validation from others. It is the sign of a person who is comfortable in their own skin, who trusts their own path, even when the world doubts them. Silence allows you to observe. When you stop talking, you start seeing clearly. You notice the details others miss. You understand the hidden motives, the subtle shifts in attitude, the true intentions behind the words people say. In silence, you become a master of discernment, and that discernment protects you. It keeps you from walking into traps, from wasting your energy on the wrong battles. There is an old saying, empty vessels make the most noise. The one who is truly full inside, full of wisdom, courage, purpose, often does not need to shout. They speak when it matters, and their words carry weight because they are chosen carefully. Their silence commands respect because it shows they are not distracted by petty things. They are focused on the bigger picture. But this kind of silence is not about isolation or fear. It is about control. When you stay silent, you control the narrative. You control how much you reveal and to whom. You guard your heart and your plans. You don't allow every passerby to weigh in on your dreams or your struggles. You understand that sometimes the less you say, the less power you give to others over your life. Many people have learned the hard way that speaking too much can lead to regrets. Words spoken in haste, in anger, or without thought can hurt relationships, break trust, and open doors to unnecessary conflict. But silence protects. Silence is the shield that guards your peace and your dignity. When you learn to hold your tongue, you rise above the drama and chaos that so often consume others. Think of the great leaders and wise men and women throughout history. They often spoke less and acted more. Their silence was a sign of strength, not weakness. When they did speak, the world listened because they had earned the right to be heard. Their silence was the soil in which their power grew. In the silence, you can also hear the still small voice within, that inner guidance that tells you which path to take, when to move forward, and when to wait. If you fill your life with noise, whether from people, distractions, or your own restless thoughts, you drown out that voice. You lose direction. But when you choose silence, you open yourself to clarity, wisdom, and peace. There is no need to rush, no need to prove yourself to everyone, no need to explain your every move. Those who are meant to support you will understand. Those who don't matter. You don't owe the world constant updates about your life or your progress. Sometimes the best answer is no answer at all. So I challenge you, embrace the power of silence. Let it be your strength, not your weakness. In a noisy world, dare to be quiet. Dare to listen more and speak less. Hold your cards close. Watch and learn. Plan in the shadows. When the time is right, your actions will speak so loudly that words will be unnecessary. Your silence will have already done the work. Remember, silence is not emptiness. It is full of possibilities. It is the foundation of patience and the birthplace of power. Stay silent and you stay dangerous. That is the truth worth holding on to. You ever notice how the loudest person in the room is often the one who feels the most insecure? It's a strange thing. When someone constantly needs to be heard, constantly has to fill the space with their voice, it's usually not because they have the most to say, but because they're trying to convince themselves and others that they matter. And that's exactly what insecurity looks like. True strength, true power, doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It quietly commands respect through presence, through action, through character. You see, when we're loud, we're giving away something very important: control. When you are constantly talking, you're revealing your thoughts, your plans, sometimes even your weaknesses. You become an open book, and people can read you easily. The loudest voice is often the most vulnerable because it exposes too much. In contrast, the one who speaks less keeps their cards close to their chest. They keep others guessing, and that makes them dangerous. There's a reason why some of the most powerful people in history were known for their quiet strength. They didn't need to yell to be heard. Their presence alone was enough. The way they carried themselves, the decisions they made, the calmness in their eyes, all spoke louder than words ever could. When you rely on noise to prove your worth, you are leaning on a shaky foundation. But when you rely on your character, your integrity, and your actions, your foundation is unshakable. It's easy to confuse loudness with confidence, but they're not the same. Confidence is calm. Confidence is measured. It's steady like a rock in a raging river. Loudness is often a mask, a way to hide the fear of not being good enough, not being noticed, not being valued. People who are truly confident don't need to scream to be seen. They know their value. They know their worth. And they don't need validation from others to confirm it. When you stop needing to be the loudest in the room, you free yourself from a great burden. You no longer seek approval or attention. You become focused on your own growth, your own purpose. You begin to understand that what truly matters is not how many people hear you, but whether the right people hear you. It's about impact, not volume. Silence can be one of your greatest allies. When you stop reacting to every slight, every criticism, every provocation, you gain control over your emotions and your energy. You conserve your power instead of wasting it. And when you finally do speak, your words carry weight because they are thoughtful, purposeful, and sincere. There's a story in the Bible about a man who was described as slow to speak. That was a compliment. It meant he thought before he acted, he weighed his words carefully, and he understood the power of restraint. How many conflicts could be avoided if more people practiced this wisdom? How many relationships could be saved if we learned to listen more and speak less? Think about your own life. How many times have you said things you later regretted? How many times have you been caught up in arguments that went nowhere because everyone was trying to be heard? The loudest voice doesn't win. The one who listens, who understands, who waits for the right moment to speak, that's the one who changes the game. When you embrace quiet strength, you become unpredictable. People can't anticipate your moves. They can't exploit your weaknesses if they don't know what they are. Your silence becomes a shield, protecting your heart, your plans, and your peace. You are no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions or judgments. There is also a spiritual dimension to this. When we are silent, we open ourselves to hear from God. The noise of the world often drowns out that still small voice, but in silence, clarity comes, direction comes, peace comes, and that peace strengthens us in ways that words never could. So the next time you feel the urge to shout just to be heard, pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking because I am confident or because I am afraid? Choose silence instead. Choose strength over noise. Choose power over insecurity. Remember, the loudest one in the room is often the weakest, but the quietest one is often the strongest. Let your silence be a testament to your strength. That is the kind of power that lasts. There is a wisdom in moving quietly through life that many fail to appreciate. We live in a world where everyone wants to broadcast their every move, announce their every intention, and declare their every victory. But let me tell you today, the most powerful moves are often made in silence. When you move in silence, you give yourself the advantage of surprise. You keep your plans and your progress hidden from those who might try to stop you, and you protect your dreams from premature judgment. When you announce everything before it happens, you risk giving others the chance to interfere, to discourage you, or to steal your ideas. People may not always have your best interests at heart. Sometimes, when you tell too many people about your goals, you invite negativity and doubt. Some may say you can't do it, or that you're dreaming too big. But when you move in silence, you shield yourself from that noise. You build your foundation quietly, and when the time is right, your success will speak so loudly that no one can ignore it. There is an old saying that success makes noise, and it's true. When you finally reach your goals, when your hard work bears fruit, the world will hear about it. But that noise comes from your achievements, not your words. The roar of accomplishment is far more powerful than the chatter of promises. You don't need to tell the world what you're doing. Let your actions do the talking. Let your results make the noise. Think about the great figures in history, the leaders, the innovators, the visionaries. Many of them moved quietly at first. They didn't rush to announce their intentions. They planned carefully, worked diligently behind the scenes, and let their breakthroughs surprise everyone. They understood that noise can be a distraction and that silence is a form of protection. When you move quietly, you cultivate patience and discipline. You learn to trust the process, to keep working even when no one is watching or applauding. You develop resilience because you are focused on your own progress, not on the opinions of others. And that kind of focus is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Sometimes people misunderstand silence for inactivity. They think if you're not talking about your plans, you're not doing anything. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The most productive people often work in silence. They study, they prepare, they refine their skills. They don't waste time explaining their every move or seeking approval. Their energy is devoted to action, not conversation. There is a power in being unpredictable. When others don't know what you're up to, they can't prepare to stop you. You have the freedom to navigate your path without interference. And when you finally reveal what you've been building, it carries weight and impact because it was done with intentionality and care. Moving in silence also guards your peace. When you keep your goals private, you avoid unnecessary pressure and expectation. You don't feel the need to defend your vision or prove yourself to critics. You work at your own pace on your own terms, trusting that the right time will come for your breakthrough. Spiritually, moving in silence aligns you with wisdom. It teaches humility and patience. It reminds you that not everything needs to be broadcast for validation. Sometimes the most profound growth happens in quiet moments when no one is watching. It is in those moments that God prepares you, strengthens you, and guides you. So I encourage you, don't rush to announce your next step. Don't seek applause before you've done the work. Move quietly, but move steadily. Build your dreams in the shadows, and when you emerge, do so with power and authority. Remember, the greatest victories are won quietly. Let success make the noise. That is the way of the truly dangerous. There is a profound strength in guarding your peace by choosing silence. In a world that constantly demands explanation, justification, and reaction, it takes real courage to hold your tongue and keep your thoughts to yourself. Yet, this is where true power lies, when you refuse to give others the ammunition they need to control or manipulate you. When you stop explaining yourself, you take back control of your life, your emotions, and your destiny. Too often, people find themselves trapped in endless cycles of explaining, defending, and trying to prove their worth. They feel the need to clarify every action, to respond to every accusation, and to defend every choice. But what happens when you stop reacting? What happens when you stop feeding the fire with your words? The chaos quiets down. The drama loses its grip, and you begin to reclaim your peace. You see, people want to pull you into their world, their opinions, their criticisms, their judgments. And the more you try to explain yourself, the more they demand. Silence frustrates them because it is a refusal to engage on their terms. When you stop explaining, you stop being their subject. You become a mystery, a fortress. And that makes you dangerous in the best way. There's a wisdom in knowing what to say and, more importantly, when not to say it. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. The Bible teaches us about the power of restraint, the value of being slow to speak and quick to listen. When you master this, you gain peace that surpasses all understanding. You no longer allow others to dictate your emotions or your narrative. Imagine how many conflicts could be avoided if more people practiced silence in the face of provocation. How many relationships would be saved if instead of reacting, we paused and chose peace? Silence doesn't mean you accept injustice or wrongdoing. It means you choose your battles wisely. You protect your heart by refusing to engage in petty fights that drain your spirit. When you stay silent, you protect your inner world. You shield your dreams from critics who don't understand your journey. You keep your plans away from those who might try to sabotage them. You guard your heart from unnecessary pain. This silence is not weakness, it is your strongest defense. There is a story of a man who, when accused falsely, did not shout or argue back. He chose silence, and in that silence, his integrity spoke louder than words ever could. His peace was unshaken, and in the end, truth prevailed. This is the power of silence. When you do not react in haste, you allow truth to work on its own timetable. Spiritually, silence opens a door to healing and restoration. When you are not caught up in explaining yourself to others, you can explain yourself to God. In those quiet moments, clarity comes. You find comfort in the knowledge that your worth is not determined by human approval, but by the divine. Your value is anchored in something eternal, something unshakable. Remember, silence does not mean you are absent. It means you are present in a way that is intentional and powerful. You are choosing peace over chaos, wisdom over impulsiveness, strength over weakness. When you cut off unnecessary reactions, you create space for growth, for focus, and for progress. So, learn to respect your silence, protect it. Let it be a shield around your heart. When people demand explanations, when they provoke you, respond not with words, but with quiet dignity. In that silence, you send a message louder than any argument ever could. This is how you stay dangerous, not by fighting every battle, but by guarding your peace and moving forward with quiet strength. That is the power you must embrace. There is a deep wisdom in the saying, "Still waters run deep." It reminds us that calmness on the surface often conceals strength, depth, and power beneath. In a world full of noise and haste, it is the calm, composed person who is often the most formidable. They do not need to shout or rush because their strength comes from within. Their power is steady, intentional, and deeply rooted. Like a river flowing silently beneath the surface, they are preparing, gathering momentum, and ready to move with force when the moment calls. Too often, we are quick to judge those who are quiet as inactive or weak. But the truth is far from that. Calmness is not absence, it is presence. It is a deliberate choice to remain centered and focused even when everything around you is chaotic. It is the patience to wait and the discipline to prepare. Those who rush without control often stumble, but those who are calm and calculated move with purpose and precision. Think about how a river behaves. On the surface, it may seem peaceful, but underneath, the water moves with power. It carves valleys, shapes mountains, and nourishes the land. This quiet strength can't be seen easily, but its impact is undeniable. Likewise, a person who is calm on the outside, but full of purpose inside has a power that others can neither see nor easily challenge. Calmness also teaches us patience. In a world obsessed with instant results and quick fixes, patience is a rare and valuable virtue. It is the ability to wait on the right moment, to act only when the time is ripe. Like a farmer who waits for the harvest, the calm person understands that some things cannot be rushed. They know that preparation, growth, and change happen in seasons, not moments. This calmness is also a form of control. When you remain composed, you control your emotions instead of letting your emotions control you. You refuse to be tossed about by anger, fear, or frustration. Instead, you anchor yourself in peace and wisdom. That control makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is a powerful advantage. When others cannot predict your response, they cannot manipulate or undermine you easily. There is a spiritual depth to this calmness as well. In the midst of storms, it is the quiet soul that hears the still small voice. It is the calm heart that feels the peace that passes understanding. When you cultivate calmness, you create space for God's presence to move within you. You are not distracted by the noise of the world or the turmoil of circumstances. You are steady, grounded, and open to divine guidance. Many times, life will test you with storms and challenges. It will try to shake your faith, your resolve, and your peace. But when you remain calm, you show that you are unshaken. You demonstrate that your foundation is not built on shifting sands, but on rock. This calm strength inspires those around you. It draws people to you because they see in you a refuge, a steady hand, a source of hope. Calmness also protects your mind and spirit. When you rush into decisions or react in haste, you open the door to mistakes, regrets, and unnecessary conflict. But when you are calm and thoughtful, you make decisions with clarity and wisdom. You weigh your options and choose the best path forward. This thoughtful approach leads to success that lasts and blessings that endure. It is important to remember that calmness does not mean passivity. It does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the right thing at the right time with the right attitude. It means moving forward with intention and confidence, not with panic or pressure. This kind of calm strength moves mountains. It changes lives. It transforms challenges into opportunities. So I encourage you today to embrace this stillness within. When you feel overwhelmed, when the noise of the world threatens to drown you out, return to your quiet place. Breathe deeply. Center yourself. Trust that beneath your calm exterior lies a powerful force ready to move. Be like the still waters, calm, deep, and full of life. Be the person who moves not in haste but in purpose, not in noise but in strength. When you do this, you are truly dangerous. Not because you make a lot of noise, but because your quiet power can change everything. That is the strength worth holding on to. In the midst of all the noise, the distractions, the endless chatter that fills our days, there lies a truth often overlooked. When you stop talking, you start listening. And not just listening to the world around you, but listening to a voice far greater than any other, the voice of God. It is in the silence that clarity is born, that guidance becomes clear, and that strength takes root. When we quiet ourselves, we open our hearts to the divine wisdom that leads, comforts, and empowers us beyond measure. You see, the world is full of noise, voices clamoring for attention, opinions flying from every direction, pressures pulling us this way and that. It's easy to get lost in that noise, to lose our sense of direction and purpose. But God's voice is different. It is gentle, often quiet, like a still small whisper that can only be heard when we stop shouting over it. When you stop talking, you make room to hear that voice, to receive His wisdom and peace that the world cannot give. Many people spend their lives talking to themselves and others, filling every moment with sound. But they miss the opportunity to listen deeply. They miss the divine messages that come in moments of stillness. And it is those messages that guide us on the path we are meant to walk. Without that guidance, we stumble in darkness, chasing after fleeting goals or getting caught up in endless worries. Listening to God requires humility. It means admitting that we do not have all the answers and that we need help from a power greater than ourselves. It means trusting that He knows the plans He has for us. Plans for hope, for a future, for good things beyond what we can imagine. When we listen, we align ourselves with those plans. We move from confusion to clarity, from fear to faith. Silence is not empty, it is full of potential. When you quiet your mind and heart, you allow God's Spirit to work within you. You receive peace that calms your storms and strength that carries you through your trials. You gain insight that directs your decisions and courage that fuels your steps. This is the power of listening, the power that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary vessels of purpose and blessing. There is a story in the scriptures about Elijah, a great prophet who sought God's guidance in a moment of despair. He stood on a mountain, waiting for God to reveal Himself in a mighty wind, an earthquake, or fire. But God was not in the dramatic display. Instead, He came in a gentle whisper, a quiet voice that Elijah could hear only because he was still and ready to listen. That moment changed Elijah's life, gave him renewed strength, and set him on a path of purpose. It teaches us that the loudest voice is not always the most powerful. Often, it is the quiet voice that leads us home. When you choose to stay silent, you also learn patience. You learn to wait on God's timing instead of forcing your own. You learn to trust that even when you don't see immediate results, God is working behind the scenes. This waiting is not wasted time, it is preparation time. It is the season when God shapes your character, refines your faith, and strengthens your spirit. And when the time is right, you will move forward with power and purpose, guided by His perfect wisdom. The world may tell you to speak up, to make noise, to demand attention, but there is a greater wisdom in knowing when to speak and when to listen. When you listen to God, you speak with authority because your words are rooted in truth and love. Your words become seeds planted in fertile soil, destined to grow and bear fruit. Remember, God's voice is always available to you. He is near, ready to guide, ready to comfort, ready to empower. But you must be willing to listen. That means carving out moments of quiet in your busy life, moments to reflect, to pray, to be still. It means turning off the noise of the world and tuning into the whisper of the divine. So I urge you today, do not underestimate the power of silence. Do not rush to fill every moment with sound. Instead, embrace the quiet. Let it be a sacred space where God speaks to your heart. Let His voice lead you, strengthen you, and make you truly unstoppable. When you stop talking, you start listening to God. And that is the greatest power you can have. That is the strength that will carry you through every battle, every challenge, and every step of your journey.